Do I have that right?
Nah, so we played together for 1 year. So my true freshman year was his senior year in relationship wise. So as a true freshman, you're trying to figure it out, right? He was a 4 year starter, right? His senior year. So when you're trying to figure out things, you gravitate to people that you see the building respect. And in those meetings, he knew what he was talking about. It's like, hey, I'm about to hang out with this dude. So I'm a freshman. He taught me the whole defense as a true freshman in college, and from there on, we just kept our relationship going.
Your thoughts about the young guy coming in the room and his rise in football ranks? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he was absolutely coming in. You can tell, like he was hungry, eager to learn. He did surround himself around, around the older guys, which was smart. Being a younger guy, want to play early and things like that. So I mean, it was good. You can tell he was a smart young man, from the beginning anyway. And that's why he ended up being a 4 year starter himself as well.
Yeah. So what's the relationship like between you guys and Wilford, right? Doing all the defensive backfield. How does that all work out?
So initially, I think when you talk about the secondary, I believe it has to be one. Like, you know what I mean? Because the biggest thing from secondary standpoint is you don't want to have DBs going palms up. Typically, palms up equals busted coverages. So as a secondary, we're one. All right. And initially, we meet together from an install standpoint, make sure we get everything, be on the same page, in the same book. And then from there, they have certain things that safeties need to hear. And Coach Wilford would meet with the safeties, and they think there's certain things that corners need to hear. Like, it doesn't make sense for the safety to listen to Coach Hicks talk about press, and they may be impressed maybe 2% of the time.
I was just wondering, with basically an entirely new secondary, Miguel's back, but he came out of the portal too, I guess. But I was wondering what it was like putting that group together, working with Geiska on it, and also that dead period right in the middle. It looked like you guys needed some safeties, and then there was that big break. What was that like, just for both of you?
Yeah, it was very unique. It was interesting time. It was a a challenge for us, which was good. We enjoy those. But just going through watching the film, with the player personnel and watching the film from the coaching staff as well. Like, I thought we did a great job of evaluating the guys. First off, and once they got in the portal, just getting in contact with them and making sure they understood our vision. And educating them on the type of system we were, our defense, and how fun it'll be to play in the secondary, and how successful that they can be. So it was a great fun time. So it was good.
And when you talk about evaluation, I think it's really important in a portal, in a short stint, that you're trying to figure out just not athletically, right? You're trying to figure out how their mental makeup is. Do they fit who we are as a program, and do they fit what Coach Silverfield vision is, right? So a lot of these guys, it's like former relationships, whether it's Christian Harrison that played for Coach at Cincinnati, whether it was Coach Hicks at Cincinnati, whether it was Ian Williams that played for Coach at Memphis, whether it's Carter Stoutmeyer, who initially coming out of high school, I was recruiting him, right? And the same with Braden Lee, right? He was initially the first. In the past, I was recruiting him here. So it's prior relationships that you already have. You take those relationships and you cultivate them, and they respect you from the past, even though they may have not picked you the first time, right? But when they get back in the portal, you have that opportunity, and it's some familiarity there.
I want to ask you a little bit about Christian Harrison, what kind of player he is, and why you felt he would be a good fit at Arkansas, and what all roles he could potentially play. But also wanted to ask about Kamori House and the decision to work him at the star position.
Yeah, Christian. Even when Christian was in high school, like Christian played corner in high school. At his first college stop, he played nickel. and then he played safety, at the last spot. So, very smart young man, and very athletic. So we knew that, he can fill, several roles, on the team because he's done it in the past. His film was really good in high school and at both spots, at college. So, he's a great addition, to us, and we're happy to have him.
For either of you.
Kamari House is what we consider a jack of all trades, right? Extremely active on the football field. Great blitzer. He was playing back last year, but when you watch him cover in man-to-man situations, you would never knew that he played backer. He's a really, really good football player, smart, instinctive. The best way I could describe him is active. You know what I mean? You could see it on film at the last place he was at, and when he blitzed, how instinctive and natural he was at using his hands, defeating blocks, whether the ball in phase, out of phase, what tool he would use. He has it.
For either of you, Coach Silverfield has talked about how when you're deciding who's going to go out with the ones, the twos, whatever, some of that's early based on experience level. Like, you're not going to put a true freshman out there with the ones necessarily. When you have a group like the secondary where pretty much everybody's new, a lot of them have experience at previous schools, and they're coming in with a decent amount of snaps. How do you decide who is going to go out there with the ones and twos, and how are you continuing to evaluate that?
I don't know if there's a ones and twos. You know what I mean? Like, just say, you kind of said it just now, but I don't think it's, hey, we have starters. Or it's not that. We have prior experience with them through that film. You know what I mean? But I don't know if you say, oh, this guy's a one. So you just mix and match, and you try to figure out who's the 5 best guys. And those 5 best guys, that's who you put on the field, right? And we talk about being a 4-dimensional player, right? And it's another reason we meet together beginning the meetings, because you want guys to be able to play. There's no such thing as, oh, I just play corner or I just play weak safety. No, the weak safety has to know what the free and the star is doing. The corner need to know what the star, the weak safety, and free is doing, because you never know in today's world. In college football, it's more comparable to the NFL now more than ever because of the roster sizes, right? I know it's similar because, hey, when you look at depth around the country, everybody's like, you talk to anybody, like, all depth. Like, it's everywhere in the country. You know what I mean? Because of the portal, the 2 that was at such and such university, he's like, oh, I can't beat such and such out. I'm going to go to another school. So now I think there's a big separation between the 2 and the 3, essentially, right? So now, to get the best 5 guys on the field, you got to make sure you have a lot of guys that has position flexibility, so you can say, hey, you don't help yourself from a value standpoint, right, when you're just a one-position guy.
You were obviously here before. What did you think when the opportunity to come back to Arkansas came to you, and what made you decide to come back?
Obviously, with it, the prior relationship with Coach Roberts, right, and the respect that Coach has in this profession. I'll be honest, he's probably one of the brightest minds. And you can look at, people talk about player development. You can look at all of the coaches that he's developed, right? And when you look at, you got a head coach that in the SEC, a head coach in the SEC that he developed as a coach. You have 2 guys that's in the NFL now that's future coordinators in the NFL that had opportunities to be coordinators in the NFL this year, right? And obviously the vision of what Coach Silverfield had, right, and how he is seen amongst the profession and how he's one of the most winningest coaches over the last 5 years in the country, you want to be a part of that, right? And obviously the city, Northwest Arkansas in general, it was a no-brainer. I asked my wife, like, yeah, I'm ready to go back. It's all good. You know what I mean?
Deron, if my timelines are correct, I think you were at Florida when Miguel Mitchell was a freshman. I'm curious what you saw of him then and how he's maybe evolved, since then. It's been, a little bit of time since then.
Yeah, Miguel played as a true freshman. He was in the packages at Florida when I was there with him. And then, which a young player, Green, just kind of running around, know your job, right? He was a one-position player at that time. Now, excuse me, you could take Miguel and you can put him in at all three positions at safety, right? He could play weak safety, he could play star, he could play free, right? So the growth of Miguel has been a lot, but you could always see that he was extremely intelligent, right? Through conversation, the questions he asked, like, hey, this dude, he's gonna be all right? But he was probably 205 at the time. He's probably like 215, 220 now. It's another thing that's changed. But yeah.
What was it like getting him to come back? You know, because he had entered the portal and everything, but he decided to come back. Just what was it like how did you convince him to come back, and what was that process like?
System familiarity. That was one of the main things. Like, you know the defense already. You played in as a freshman and as a sophomore. You had a pretty good freshman year. Being coached by Coach Wilford again. And don't have to relearn, right? When you have 1 year and you getting into the portal, it's like, bro, you have the ability. I already know that, like, he know all of the checks. Like, he's so far ahead of everyone else because he's been in the system, and that's one of the reasons you want him to come back. So it's like, hey, you could help us teach the rest of the room, right? Because you have a lot of familiarity in the system.
Deron, you were here obviously with under Sam Pittman. You're here now, and curious any differences in just kind of how spring practice has been run. That's different now than it was back then.
I have a ton of respect for Coach Pittman. He gave me an opportunity to come in. I love Coach Pittman, right? Still have a relationship with him to this day. It's different, right? And for me, over the last 5 years until this year, I've worked with guys that's been under, you would say, the Saban tree, right? Whether it was Coach Pittman, who came from under Kirby Smart, whether it was Billy Napier, who came from under Nick Saban, right? So it is different in that standard. I mean, it's philosophy based. I don't know if you would say like one is, they're both successful, right? Coach Silverfield was under Mike Novell at Florida State, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest difference of how things are ran from a structure standpoint, which I think both are good.
You kind of seen Miguel Mitchell as a freshman. Is there any freshmen that you've seen this since you've been here recently that are maybe sticking out to you?
Yes, I would say all of them they're young. They're still trying to learn. Whether it's I'll talk about some of the safety with Tay Lockett, right? Fan favorite. He's extremely intelligent. He flies around, asks smart questions. He's one that stands out. Next, I would say, I'm looking at the notes. Williams, he's doing a good job. Got to get a lot better. And coach take the corners, guys. You have.
Yeah, I think B Ford's doing a really good job of just continue to learn and put himself in a good position. Like, really smart young man. He's gonna be really skilled. And then we got Jalen Copeland's doing a really good job. Is just trying to learn. And then, we had a kid, DJ Harrison, that came from, I know you said freshman, but he's going to be a sophomore, but young player that's going to be a really talented, man coverage guy. But, obviously they're all continuing to learn the scheme and put themselves in the best position that they need to be so they can, help make plays for us.
Deron, did you your Arkansas gear when you left? Like, does that go into the bottom of the closet? Does it get thrown out? have you have it already? You bust it back out when you come back to Fayetteville?
I busted back out. I busted back out.
Just when you think about like the safety position, what do you kind of want that identity to be? Because I mean, I know it'll depend a lot on the line of scrimmage and just fitting within the defense. But how do you want to define the safety position?
When we recruit here, talk about safeties, we try as best as possible to get as many corners that we can, because there is no difference between a corner and a safety outside of communication, right? The safeties do more communicating. When you talk about the ability to cover, if you can't cover at corner, you can't cover at safety, right? If you're talking about tackling, if you can't tackle, you can't play defense at all. Right, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of those same traits that you look for at corner. You just transition into the safety room. Obviously, the better tacklers would be your safeties. The better communicators would be your safeties. But we look for safeties with corner traits.
Eddie, just looking at your history, and you were a position coach for 4 or 5 years, and then you went to LSU and served in that analyst role. I'm just curious, what did those years at LSU do for you? And what did maybe you learn about the SEC can translate now into this position?
Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely it helped. You know what I mean? Just being a part of the best conference, in the world. Just from a recruiting standpoint of day to day, no days off, right? Just competitive standpoint. I mean, exactly what that Mark says. It just means more. So just always trying to gain that competitive advantage, whether it's in recruiting, whether it's anything on the field that we can do. But it was good 2 years. But again, those other years before that, even being a part of FCS and G5 and P4 also helped for this moment. The biggest thing for me is like, I've always had to develop, you know what I mean? And I pride myself in developing guys. I pride myself in maximizing guys' potential, so they can be the best that they can be on and off the field.
The guys who've been at with the ones at corner that we've seen, Jaheim and Roland, and maybe Lee's gotten some. Can you maybe talk about what you've seen from the guys who've been out there the most so far at corner?
Yeah, for sure. They all got some really good traits. I think, starting off, you said Lakai. Lakai he's long, he's athletic, he can run. The biggest thing, we got to continue to just, work on his technique and things like that, making sure he's under control, from a body position and movement standpoint. But he's been great, super athletic, super talented guy. That we're going to look for to make a lot of plays for us. Joker Johnson is by far probably one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. I think like Coach said, like just a guy that can understand being a four-dimensional player, like we talk about, understanding his job. Everybody in the defensive back room job, understanding the defense, understanding how the offense is trying to attack us. He gets it. I've been, really impressed with, his instincts and his ability to make plays. And Braden Lee is doing a good job as well. He's just a natural football player. I think his ceiling is really high as well.
Coach, I can't remember the timeline of when y'all both got here, but the connection you guys have, did you keep track of each other through your coaching careers?
Yes, and it's not a lot of guys that I get on the phone with and share ideas with, but he's always been a guy that I would get on the phone and share ideas with at all times. Ask him how you play in certain things, and he would ask me the same. But which that's how you gain professional. We always had a personal relationship, but that's how you gain professional respect for someone, by talking football. Like, I get to see how his brain works. Oh, I like that idea. He get to see how mine work. So yes, we always had a relationship.
So you played a role maybe in how Eddie got here, or how did you get here?
I mean, he played a role. He definitely played a role in it. Like he said, just in the past, we talked over the years all the time, even after playing. Once I got in coaching, I think my first year in coaching, the second year in coaching, he was still playing. But we've always continued to talk, and honestly never thought that we'd probably be working together. You just never know, right? When you're two DB coaches or two corner coaches or whatever, you don't think about that. So never expected anything like that, but just kept a good relationship, and you never know what can happen. So I'm just excited to be here for this opportunity.
He won't share this, but I'm the reason he started coaching. When he was teaching me the defense, I'm 18 years old. I was like, "Hey, bro, like, you ever thought about coaching?" He's like, "Nah." You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Both very
I forgot about
decorated
that.
Southern Miss. I mean, have y'all been back for any reunions or anything where they talk about their greatest players?
It's hard.
hard
We always work.
Yeah.
We always working.
No
When you're
doubt.
not working, you're spending time with your family.
That's right.
I didn't want to leave out anybody who might, the players that we're going to have come in. I wanted to ask them specifically. Who in?
Joker and Kamora.
Okay. Well, we talked about them, so.
Yeah. Roland and Lee, they're Maryland guys, right? Were they some kind of package deal or anything, or they just both come individually?
Individually, once Lakai got in and You know, I don't know. Like they just did a great job, like with Lakai, and once B Lee got in, Lakai was like, "Hey man, you need to come here," you know, type of deal. So you know, Lakai's was done, you know, already previously before B Lee had come up.
It does help, like, and we talk about guys that embrace the state. B. Lee, although everything may say he's from the Maryland area, the DMV area, he grew up a big Hogs fan. Like if you look at his social media, they have pictures with him and his dad, right? He has on a Arkansas jersey, right? It's Darren McFadden jersey, I believe that, and he like it means something to be here, and we want kids that want to be here that it means something too. Like because we talk about, hey, you're not just playing for the University of Arkansas, you playing for the state once you come here. You know what I mean? And for B. Lee, it means a lot. It's a dream come true for his father.
What is that connection? I guess I'm not familiar.
He's from Little Rock.
Okay.
Moved up. Parents was in the military. Moved up to the DMV area, maybe at 6 years old or so.
Gotcha. What are the 4 dimensions?
So we talk about 4D player. Dimension number 1 is knowing your position, right? Dimension number 2 is knowing everyone in your room's position, right? So if I'm a corner, I know everyone in the secondary, right? Dimension number 3 is knowing the whole defense, right? And know how the pieces go together. All right, and dimension number 4, and this is when you become an elite football player. This is when you have a PhD in football. When you know the coverage that we're in, and you know everybody on the field, what they're supposed to do defensively, and you know how the offense is trying to attack you, right? That's what we say when we talk about, you may hear me say 4D player, a 4-dimensional player.
Growing up, we always hear, you always heard free safety and strong safety. And, Coach Williams, I believe, had field safety and boundary safety. What is different about the weak safety? You said free and weak.
The weak safety is very similar to the boundary safety. Similar. Not the same, similar.
What's different?
You'll see when you come to practice.
One more question on Joker Johnson and Kamori, who are both coming in here. Both those guys are 2, I don't know if you guys look at it, but 2 are the higher ranked portal guys in this class. How did that develop with landing those guys? And was there a connection, like you had mentioned, with some of the other players before?
Go ahead, Coach.
So in the past, believe Coach Roberts had, it's the prior relationship. He recruited him coming out of high school, Kamari House coming out of high school, and they had, I guess he did a good job. Kamari had a whole bunch of respect for him coming out, decided to go to the first university he went to, then got back in the portal. The relationship is already there. With Joker Johnson being a South Louisiana guy, I'm from South Louisiana, had relationship with, and Coach Roberts' son went to school with Joker's older brother, right? But and when you talk about relationships, like it goes a long way of how you treat people this day, right? You never know. Treat your players, people in general, because they don't remember what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel, right? So you always want to, and it's not lying to people, or it's like treat them the right way. Even if you dislike what I'm saying, you're going to respect what I'm saying. But if you figure out I'm not telling you the truth, you're not going to respect me anymore, right? So I think those relationships there were going South Louisiana, Coach Roberts' time. I'm from South Louisiana. So the crazy thing, have relationships with guys that's on the school that Joker come from, guys on their staff, right? Been knowing them my whole life. So, and when they can speak on you, on your behalf, that helps, right?
What's it about Coach Roberts that you want to be part of his tree? I mean, you're one of his guys, What is
it goes back to this. I'll say this: he's probably, if not the smartest, but one of the brightest minds I've ever been around, and how he see football, and more specifically, the way he teach. Right? They have things like, dang, coach, I'd never thought of it that way. Or I'll explain it that way now. You know what I mean? It was much more simpler. Like when you talk about the purest form of teaching, right? He is that. again, he's a former high school teacher. You know what I mean? So, but that's one of the main things. And he's a great person to work with. You know what I mean? Great person. Like, anything, if I have a question about something, he's quick to ask, right? Patient. But I enjoyed working with him this past year at the last place, right? And also had a relationship. I recruited his son to McNeese 6 years ago or so.
Guys, great job. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.